Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. You know we love to get into the nitty-gritty of self-improvement, and today we're diving into something I think a lot of you can relate to. It's that desire to, well, level up, be the best version of yourself. But I think sometimes it can feel like there's just so much to work on. Like, where do you even begin?
Yeah, that feeling of overwhelm is something I hear a lot. There's so much advice out there, it can almost be paralyzing, right? You're ready for a change, but where do you direct that energy?
And that's where this blueprint we're looking at comes in, the self-improvement blueprint. It really lays out these 5 clear steps. It's not just about random changes here and there. It's like this structured approach to growth. Mentally, physically, emotionally, the whole package.
It's about having that structure. It is. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't just start throwing up walls and a roof without a blueprint, right? You just have a pile of materials and a big mess.
I love that analogy. Okay, so step 1, get clear on your goals. I mean, it seems obvious, but the source really emphasizes how important clarity is. Like, you wouldn't just hop in your car and start driving with no destination in mind, would you?
No, you'd end up lost and frustrated. And in the same way, having a clear vision, it gives you direction and motivation. It's like your North Star. This source, it actually gives you 3 really helpful questions to get you started.
Okay, let's hear them. What's question number 1?
All right, so the first one is, what kind of person do you want to become? And it's not just about hitting external achievements, it's deeper than that. It's about, your character, your values, the kind of energy you bring into the world.
So it's less about, I want to make X amount of dollars, and more about, I want to be the kind of person who...
Yeah, exactly. And it forces you to get really specific, because I want to be successful, that's great. But what does success look like for you? Is it financial abundance? Is it creative fulfillment? Strong relationships? It's probably some combination of all those things, right?
I can see how actually answering that for yourself would really change your perspective. Okay, what's the next question on this self-discovery quest?
So question number 2, it's all about visualizing the future. It asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, I love that. It gets you thinking about the long game.
It does, and it helps you create a roadmap, right? Like, really imagine yourself 5 years from now. What's your daily routine like? What skills have you mastered? What kind of impact are you having? When you paint that picture, it gives your brain a destination to work towards.
It's like putting a pin on the map of your future. I like that. All right, bring on the third and final question.
Okay, this one's a little tougher. It asks, what's stopping you from reaching that vision? And, it's tough, but it's important because once you identify those obstacles, you can start figuring out how to overcome them.
It's like clearing the path before you start building, right? Time for some honest self-reflection. It's asking, are you holding yourself back with limiting beliefs? Do you need to learn new skills or habits? Is your social circle really supporting your growth? Or are they, maybe unintentionally holding you back?
Exactly. And answering these questions, it can be uncomfortable, but think of it like clearing the path before you start building. Once you've got those goals and obstacles identified, the source gives you this great tip. Break down those big goals into smaller, more actionable steps.
Okay, now we're talking. I've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Exactly. It's way less overwhelming that way.
Trying to change everything at once, well, you're just setting yourself up for burnout. Instead, you got to break those goals down into tiny steps. So say your goal is to be more confident, right? Don't try to become some social butterfly overnight. Just start by working on your eye contact or improving your posture, small things like that.
Small steps, big impact. The source even mentions that research shows if you commit to just a 1% improvement each day, that adds up to exponential growth over a year. It's the compounding effect in action.
Yeah, it's like investing a small amount of money regularly. Over time, that seemingly small investment can grow into something huge thanks to the power of compounding. So once you have that clear vision, right, knowing what you want, then the action part becomes a little bit easier.
Okay, but knowing what you want, that's just step 1. How do we actually turn those aspirations into reality? That's the real question.
And that brings us to step 2, build small, powerful habits, which we're going to dig into after a quick break.
And we're back, folks, digging deeper into the self-improvement blueprint.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got our goals all laid out, but now comes the actual work part.
The rubber meets the road, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this is where we bust that myth, that whole idea of overnight success. This blueprint makes it clear. Real transformation, it's not some grand gesture, it's consistency.
Yeah.
The tiny things you do every day, those are what make the difference.
Yeah, I think we all get caught up in wanting those instant results, right? Like, I want it and I want it now. But this source is saying it's the small, almost invisible actions repeated over and over that really add up.
That's it. The source calls this step 2, build small, powerful habits. Massive success, it's not built overnight. It's those little habits compounding over time that really make a difference.
Okay, so give me an example of how this whole compounding thing works in real life.
Okay, so think about getting in shape. You don't just wake up one morning with six-pack abs, right? It's the daily workouts, the healthy food choices, the things you do consistently that get you there. Or learning a new language. You don't just magically become fluent. It's that daily practice, even if it's just a few minutes, that builds up over time.
So it's not about relying on these bursts of motivation. It's more about disciplined action.
You got it. Motivation might get you going, but discipline is what carries you through. It's those habits, those actions that become automatic that make the real difference.
I like that. The source even gives us this kind of golden rule. Small daily actions, long-term transformation. Man, I'm gonna have to write that one down. That's powerful. And this applies to any area, right? Confidence, learning new skills, health, money, all of it.
Absolutely. It's about those actions becoming so automatic that they're just a part of who you are. But I know what you're thinking. How do we make those habits stick without it feeling like a total drag?
Okay, yeah, spill the beans. What does this blueprint say about making the habit thing actually doable?
So first off, you got to start small. That's key. Like, if you want to work out every day, don't try to jump into an hour-long routine on day one. You're just going to burn out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ease into it, right? Like, start with just 5 minutes and slowly increase it.
Exactly. Small wins, they build momentum. Another great tip, habit stacking. This is where you link a new habit to something you already do regularly. So let's say you want to read more, right? Try reading just 5 pages every morning while you're having your coffee.
So piggybacking on an existing routine, I like it, but doesn't that mean you need to have like a ton of good habits already?
Not really. You probably have more routines than you realize. Think about it. Brushing your teeth, showering, making your bed, little things like that. All of those can be anchors for new habits. And you know what's cool? There's actually a neuroscience reason why this works.
Ooh, let's get nerdy for a second. Explain that one.
When you link a behavior to an existing routine, you're basically tapping into your brain's existing neural pathways. So it's easier, kind of like creating a shortcut in your brain.
So my brain already knows make coffee, and then I can just read 5 pages to that same routine. And it's easier because the pathway's already there.
Exactly. Your brain's like, oh, we're already doing this. Might as well add this little thing on. Another big one the source talks about is tracking your progress. This could be with an app, a calendar, even just a notebook. Mark off those days you do the thing you want to turn into a habit.
I can see how that would be motivating.
Yeah.
It's visual proof that you're actually doing it.
It is. Reinforces that commitment, encourages you to keep going. And the source points out something pretty cool. Someone who reads just 10 pages a day will end up finishing over 12 books in a year. Think of all the knowledge and new perspectives you could gain.
Wow. 10 pages doesn't sound like a lot, but that adds up fast.
Yeah.
Really reinforces that consistency is key.
Hmm.
All right, so we've got our goals down. We're building those little habits. What's next on this self-improvement adventure?
Well, the next part gets into something I find truly fascinating, the power of mindset. But we'll have to save that for after the break.
All right, and we're back for our final deep dive into the self-improvement blueprint. We've talked about those clear goals, building those powerful little habits, but now we're getting into the mental game, right?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The source calls this step 3, upgrade your mindset. And it really highlights how your mindset can be either your biggest asset or your biggest roadblock.
I've heard that before. It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It's like our thoughts really do shape our reality.
They absolutely do. A negative mindset, it can trap you in this cycle of self-doubt. You might not even try things because you've already convinced yourself you're going to fail. But a growth mindset, on the other hand, that's all about seeing challenges as opportunities.
So it's not just thinking positive thoughts. It's about believing that you can actually grow and evolve.
Yeah, it's about seeing your abilities as something you can develop, not something that's fixed. And the source, it gives these 3 specific mindset shifts that can totally change your approach to self-improvement.
I am so ready for a mindset upgrade. Hit me with the first one.
All right, so Shift number 1 is moving from I can't to I'm learning how. It's all about embracing that beginner's mindset. You don't have to have all the answers right away.
Right.
You're on a journey.
You're learning. I love that. So instead of saying, ugh, I'm terrible at public speaking, it's, I'm learning how to be a better communicator.
Yeah.
Even that little shift in language, it's kind of empowering, right?
It totally is. You're moving from this fixed state of I'm bad at this to a state of possibility and growth.
Okay, shift number 1, check. What's the next upgrade we got to install?
This one's all about reframing failure. It's changing your perspective from I failed to I learned.
Wait, so you're saying failure isn't the opposite of success?
Not according to this blueprint.
No.
The source makes this really good point that failure is actually a necessary part of the journey. It's a chance to learn and adjust, and you come back stronger.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But it's still hard to, embrace failure when it actually happens.
It is, but think about it this way. Every setback, every mistake, it's a piece of data. It tells you what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, so instead of getting discouraged, we should be analyzing those failures, figuring out what we can do better next time.
Exactly, turning those failures into learning opportunities. All right, ready for shift number 3?
Lay it on me.
This one is about your environment. It's that whole idea that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right?
Oh yeah, I've heard that one. So if you're surrounded by negativity and limiting beliefs, that's going to make it harder to maintain a growth mindset.
Definitely. So this step, it's about taking a look at your social circle. Are the people around you lifting you up? Are they supporting your growth? Or are they, maybe without realizing it, holding you back with their own fears and doubts?
That's a good point. Sometimes you don't even realize how much your environment is affecting you. So surround yourself with those people who inspire you, who challenge you, who are excited for your wins.
Exactly. Create a support system that's going to help you grow and change. And the source mentions this practical tool for dealing with those negative thoughts. Journaling.
Journaling.
Yeah.
How does that help with mindset?
When you write those thoughts and feelings down, it's like bringing them out into the open. You can start to see patterns, you can identify those beliefs that might be holding you back, and then you can start to challenge those negative thought patterns.
It's like you're having a conversation with yourself on paper. And sometimes just getting it out of your head can make a huge difference.
Totally. Okay, so we got the first 3 steps. Clear goals, those powerful habits, that upgraded mindset. It's like we've laid the foundation, built the walls. Now it's time to, furnish our mental house.
I'm loving this house metaphor. So how do we furnish that mental house? What's next?
Step number 4 is keep learning and expanding your knowledge. And the source makes it clear. Continuous learning, it's like fuel for that self-improvement engine.
So if you're not learning, you're not growing.
It's that simple, yeah.
Makes sense.
In a world that's constantly changing, if you stay stagnant, you're going to fall behind. You got to keep learning new things, expanding your knowledge and skills to keep up and stay ahead of the curve.
This reminds me of all those super successful people. They're always reading, taking courses, learning new things, right?
Absolutely. They get it. Learning is a lifelong thing. And the cool thing is, it doesn't have to be boring or a chore. The source has these practical, even fun ways to make learning part of your daily life.
All right, so what are some of those easy ways to keep learning? I'm always looking for ways to make my commute more productive.
Well, listen to podcasts or audiobooks during your commute, while you're working out, even while you're cooking dinner. It's a great way to multitask and turn those passive times into opportunities for growth.
Love that. I'm a big podcast fan, so I'm definitely on board with that one. What else?
Another great one. Commit to reading at least 1 book per month. Remember how we talked about those small actions adding up? Reading even just 10 pages a day can make a big difference over time.
Oh, I've been meaning to get back into reading regularly. Good reminder.
And don't forget about those online learning platforms. Udemy, Coursera, Skillshare. So many affordable courses on pretty much anything you can think of.
Yeah, that's a good point. Learning doesn't have to be expensive. But here's a question. What's the point of all this learning if we're not actually putting it into practice?
You hit the nail on the head. That's why step 5 is so important. It's called take action and stay consistent. This step is all about bridging that gap between knowledge and action.
Right. We can have all the knowledge in the world, but if we don't act on it, what good is it?
It's like having this beautifully drawn map, but never actually setting out on the journey. You have to take action to see results. And the source says, don't wait. Take action now.
No more procrastinating, no more waiting for the perfect time.
Exactly. Pick one thing you've learned from this whole deep dive right now and do something about it. It could be simple, like setting a specific time to read each day, or maybe get rid of those distractions on your phone, boost your productivity, or even just drink a glass of water right now. Stay hydrated.
I love that. Small, consistent steps, building that momentum. It all comes back to that.
Small actions done consistently, they lead to big transformations. And that takes us to the final takeaway from this blueprint: progress over perfection. You don't have to be perfect to be successful.
That's so key. We get caught up in wanting to do everything perfectly and then get discouraged when we mess up.
Yeah.
But this is about celebrating the progress, even the small wins, and learning from those mistakes.
Absolutely. Let go of needing to be perfect. Embrace the journey. It's messy, it's imperfect, but that's how we grow.
All right, so that's the self-improvement blueprint in a nutshell. 5 steps to help you level up your life.
It's been a really interesting deep dive. We've covered a lot. Clarifying your goals, building those tiny habits, upgrading that mindset, embracing learning, taking action. It's all connected.
It really is.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's about empowering you to create the life you want. You have the power to make those positive changes. And now, hopefully, you have the tools to do it.
And before we wrap up, I wanted to add one more thought. It's not explicitly stated in the source, but I think it's super important.
Oh, I'm all ears. What is it?
Self-compassion. Throughout this whole journey, it's so important to be kind to yourself. Acknowledge those efforts, celebrate those wins, no matter how small.
That is huge. It's easy to be our own worst critic, especially when it comes to self-improvement. We set these really high expectations and then beat ourselves up when we don't meet them perfectly.
Exactly. This isn't about striving for some unattainable ideal of perfection. It's about embracing the journey, learning from those stumbles, and just showing up for yourself, even when it's hard.
So alongside, take action, stay consistent, and keep growing. Let's add, practice self-compassion.
Perfect. Treat yourself with the same kindness and encouragement that you'd offer a close friend, Celebrate those victories, acknowledge the effort, and give yourself some grace when you stumble.
I think that's a great note to end on. This deep dive has been awesome, and I really hope you all got something out of it.
Remember, the most important step is the one you take right now. It doesn't matter how small it is. Every single action you take, every step towards becoming a better version of yourself, that's a victory. Celebrate those.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us for the deep dive.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep being awesome.